Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo, and welcome to this video where we're going to talk about making your own custom calendars. Free with this month's magazine, we've got a whole batch of calendar templates for 2016. They're really easy to use, and all you have to do is add your pictures to them. We've got cover templates, so you can get a nice starting point for your calendar. And then we have all the months running through the year, with both artistic borders with a nice fuzzy edge and squared off borders, depending on what you want. You can mix and match these, and we've got templates for both UK date order and US date order. So wherever you may be in the world, you can make a calendar that's going to look absolutely great. The only difference between the two templates is the UK templates have the weekend at the end of the week, and that's this shaded area here, whereas lots of other regions prefer to have Saturday and Sunday at either end of the week, with the working week in the middle. So you can choose whichever template you want to use, and then you can add your pictures to create a tremendous gift that will last for a whole 12 months. Now, before you start actually making your calendars, it makes sense to get all your pictures together first. That makes the process really quick and easy. It means you won't have your creative flow interrupted by searching for that particular image you want. So select your 12 pictures for your months, and then maybe a 13th that you might want to use for your cover as well. And once you've found them, make a copy of all of them to a separate folder, and then drag the folder with the templates into that same folder, so you'll have everything all in one place. And once you've done all that, all you have to do is start the creative process. So I'll close these ones down. Let's get rid of them, and then we can start from scratch, and you can see how easy it is to make your calendars. Well, the most sensible place to start is with the cover. So if you go to File, Open, and then find your calendar templates, you find there's all the calendars here. We've got all kinds of stuff. There's the UK arty borders, the UK squared off borders, USA date format art borders, and USA format square borders. So pick whichever one you want. I'm going to go for the UK art in this instance. And then we have all the dates there. That's Jan, Feb, March, April, and so on. And 00, that's the cover. So we'll start with that. Double click on the cover. And then once it's there, you need to pick your image. So let's go to File, Open once more. And here's where you need to pick the image you want to use. Now I've got mine. There we go, Calendar Picks. So there's my images that I've selected, so I can choose whichever one I want for the cover. And I'm going to go for this jetty shot here. So once you've found your cover picture, double click on that and that will launch on screen. Now what you need to do is copy it first of all. So hit Control and A to select the whole image, and then hit Control and C to copy it into memory. Once you've done that, you're done with the picture, so hit Control and W and that will close it down. And then to paste it into your calendar template, just hit Control and V. Now it doesn't look very good at the moment, but what we need to do is get our layers on screen. So if your layers palette isn't on the right hand side, just pop up to Window and choose Layers. Then they'll pop up on screen. And you can see there's all our various bits and bobs that make up the calendar template, and that's where our picture's been pasted in. That layer is going to be active, it'll be highlighted, and all you need to do is change the blending mode. So click where it says Normal and choose the Screen Blending mode, and your picture will show through the aperture within the calendar. Now we need to move it around a bit to get it in the right place. This isn't quite right at the moment, so what we need to do is resize the picture just a little bit to make it fit the aperture within the calendar. So to do that, we'll create a bit of room around the canvas. I'm just going to drag this box out, and then we hit Control and T to go into free transform mode. Now all we've got to do is pull on these corner handles to get the image to suit the aperture, something like that, and then we can move it around to get it looking good. If you use the arty borders, make sure your image extends all the way past the edge. So we just need to make sure we've got the whole image there, and that looks rather nice. When you're changing the size of your picture in this way, you want to do it in proportion. If you're using the full version of Photoshop, all you need to do is hold down the Shift key when you drag a corner handle inwards or outwards. If you're using Elements, open the Tool Options bar, and then down at the bottom, you'll see there's a little box here called Constrain Proportions. Make sure that's ticked, and then when you drag the corner handles, the width and the height of your picture will stay in proportion. Okay, so now that's done, we just need to double click inside the bounding box or click the green tick or hit return to set that down, and we have our cover image. Let me close down some of this screen clutter so you can see what's going on. Okay, now to label up your calendar properly, you need a title for it, of course, and you want to make sure that your photographer's credit is nice and visible in the bottom corner. To do that is nice and easy. We've got lots of layers here. If you click on the T of the first one, just double click there, the title box is highlighted. Now all you have to do is type in whatever title you want. So we'll go for, let's see, Lakeland Views, something like that. That would be nice. Once you've done that, to get out of the type editing mode, just click on the Move tool, and that will set down that text. To change your photographer's credit, just double click on the T next to photographer's credit, and then let's zoom in a little bit here. That's Control and plus to zoom in, and we'll just have to scroll down to see what we're doing. There we go. And then just highlight the bit that says your name here and type in your name. Oops, that's better. Okay, we'll just double click the hand tool to go back to full screen, and that's our cover page complete. Now you've created your cover, you want to save it first. So to save it, go to File and choose Save As. Then we can give it a different name, and you can name it whatever you want there. Once you've named it, save it as a JPEG and use maximum quality for that. Then hit Save, and you'll have your cover all ready to print. I'm not going to save that cover for now because I'm going to move on to the next template, so I'll close this one down. Once you get to your months, all you have to do is go to File, Open, and choose the appropriate month. So we'll go back to our calendars. There they are. We'll go for UK Art once more, and we'll pick 01, which is January. That loads our January template. Then we just need to select our picture to go in there. So we'll go to File, Open once more, and we'll pick the picture we want. Now what should we go for? I think I'll go for this image here, so I'll click Open. And then we go through that same process again. Control and A to select the whole image. Control and C to copy it. Control and W to close it down, and then when we're back on our calendar, there it is there, we just hit Control and V to paste it in place. Now to see it through the aperture within the calendar, we just change the blending mode, so we switch from normal to screen, and then to change the size and shape of the picture, we just hit Control and T to get our transform bounding box around the image. We can now move it around. Let's look something like that, should be pretty good. Then we just drag the corner handles to make it fit and look good. I think that's the sort of thing. If you want to fine-tune the position of the image, just use the cursor keys. If you tap them, you can just get it just right for your image. And again, make sure that if you use the arty templates, you don't stray into the aperture itself with the edge of the image. You don't want that kind of effect coming through. So make sure your image is in the right place. Okay, well that one is looking pretty good, so I'll double-click inside the bounding box to set it down. And then to save that page, I just go to File, Save As, and again use the JPEG format and give it a new name. Okay, so that's how simple it is to create your pages. But what happens if you want to change the size and shape of the aperture within the calendar? Perhaps to suit a square image or a vertical image? Well, that's nice and easy to do. Let's just close this one down and pick another template. Okay, there we go. So we'll go to File, Open, and pick our next template. There we go. We'll go for another arty one, and we'll go for number 3. Okay, so we're on to March. Now we need a picture to go in there, so we go to File, Open once more, and we find our pictures. There they are. Now if I pick a vertical image or something that, perhaps this one here, a nice spring-like shot that should be suitable for March, let's open that. What we'll do, we'll select it, Control and A, copy it with Control and C, close it down with Control and W, and then we need to paste it in with Control and V. Then so I can see it properly, I'm going to change the blending mode of that layer to screen. So we go to screen, and we can now see our picture through the aperture. But because our picture was vertical in this instance, we need a different size and shape to the aperture. So we can customize our calendar to actually accommodate that. Let's just enlarge this so we can see what we're doing. Okay, we need to now work on the background layer to change the size of this box. So make sure the background layer is selected and active in the Layers palette, and then hit D on the keyboard. By hitting D, you reset the default colors to make sure that white is your background, that's the important one, and it also sets black as your foreground color. What we're then going to do is select the rectangular marquee tool, and we're just going to make a selection that takes in the whole of this aperture area. So we'll just draw that through there. Make sure you don't touch the date grid or anything like that. And then all we're going to do is hit Control and T once more, because we can transform that selection we've made. What I'm now going to do is hold down the Alt key and drag in these side handles. And that takes both at the same time. So we get symmetry quite easily, and we can set our box to about that kind of size. I now double click inside the bounding box, and I've resized the aperture to suit. Really easy, just make sure you're working on that background layer. Now, it may be the case you want to create a little bit more space for your picture. So what we can do, if we just click off that, that'll lose those selection lines. We can do the same thing with the date grid. So if we just select the date grid and take in the whole of that bit, that's a bit too close to our aperture, so I'll just hold the space bar to drag that down a touch. That's our date grid selected. That's all of it. Then if we want to move that down, we can. With that selected, just click on the Move tool, and then you can move it down. You can use the cursor keys just to shimmy it down like so, or if you want to move it in bigger chunks, hold down the Shift key and you'll move it 10 pixels at a time. So we can move our date grid down a little bit there, and then hit Ctrl and D to lose the selection lines. That gives us a bit more room, and now we can enlarge that box to be better suited to a vertical image. So just grab hold of the rectangular marquee tool again, select the whole of the area there, then hit Ctrl and T and just drag it down. And I think that should look rather nice like that. Double click inside the bounding box and then hit Ctrl and D to lose the selection lines. Now all we've got to do is move our picture to suit that aperture. So we go back to the picture layer and then hit Ctrl and T once more to go back into free transform. Now let's create a bit of room around the canvas. That's Ctrl and minus. Then all we have to do is drag our boxes to make the image suit the template. A couple of taps of the cursor keys just to fine-tune the position, and that looks fantastic there. Now all you do is double-click inside that bounding box, and there you've resized and reshaped the aperture in a nice symmetrical fashion to suit a vertical image. And we've also moved our date grid a bit to accommodate that change. Now if I zoom in a bit, you may have noticed something, and that's that some of our picture is showing through our date grid. Now if that's the case with your image, what you need to do is make sure that you erase the image underneath the date grid. That's quick and easy to do. Just make sure you've got your picture layer selected because that's the one you want to affect. And then pick up the eraser tool and you can simply rub it out. Increase brush size using the square brackets keys, then just run that over the areas where the date grid is and you'll have no problem at all removing that sort of show through that's occurring because of the screen blending mode. Okay, and while we're on customizing the size and shape of these calendars, you can also customize the color within them. We've made the date grid grey and black so it will suit any image, but you may want to actually make it tie in precisely with your particular image. And here's a good case in point. We've got some lovely pinks in these flowers in the foreground, and it may be good to get these to show through in the date grid, so we really customize the look of the whole thing. To do that is nice and easy as well. Make sure you've got your background layer selected because that's the one with the date grid on. And then what we're going to do is pick the color we want to use for the date grid. Just click on the foreground color swatch down here and that will open the color picker. But we're not going to choose a color from the color picker. Instead, we're going to pick one directly from the image. So let's have a look at these flowers here. Maybe we pick, that's a bit bright, perhaps this one here. That's a nice rich pink color that's actually in the picture. So once we've picked that color, we can click OK, and that color will be imported into the foreground color swatch. What we're now going to do is, making sure the background layer is selected, we're going to grab hold of the rectangular marquee, go over the entire date grid, taking in all the shaded areas as well, and then we're going to hit Ctrl and U to open up the hue saturation palette. Now when we click this box here called Colorize, it will import the foreground color at a saturation value of 25%. So we tick Colorize and we get our pink color straight onto our date grid. To boost the saturation from 25%, all we have to do is move this slider up a little bit. I think around 50 looks pretty good there. That really echoes the color in the plants. So once you've changed your color, click OK. And also if you want to change the contrast within the date grid, you can do that too. Just make that selection in the same way and then hit Ctrl and L to open the levels palette. This gives you the opportunity to actually make the grid a little bit darker or a bit lighter. The only one you don't want to touch is the white point because that will actually change the whole thing and you can lose it altogether. So what you want to do is simply move the shadows or the midtone sliders and you can mix up a different contrast and a different feel. So to make it a bit bolder and thicker, just move the midtone slider to the right, or indeed you can move the blacks to the right as well, and that will do a similar thing. So you can mix up a nice bit of extra contrast if you want a more colourful date grid or a more contrasty date grid on your calendar. And once you've done all that, all you have to do is click OK and then hit Control and D to lose the selection lines, and you have a wonderfully colourful calendar template that's beautifully tied into your image. So you can have a lot of fun making your own calendars. Use those customization tips as well if you want to. And once you've got all your pages together, print them out onto some good quality photo paper and then pop down to your local print shop and get them comb bound. It only costs a few pounds to do that, and it'll give your calendars a really slick and professional finish. Alright, thanks for watching. Enjoy using the templates, and more importantly, enjoy the calendars you create for a full 12 months.